Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Miftahul Fauziah, class 4A. I will explanation material about human language according to Islam. Number 1 is the origin of human language. One of the theories that discusses the origin of language is the theory of divine source. This theory recognizes the role of God in creating language and providing language for humans. Believing the divine origin of language has continued through the centuries. Moreover, this theory is closely related to the debate among linguists. Some linguists provide detailed defense of this theory and others defend against it. The rejection of this theory arises because information about the origin of language is only based on myths, custom, and superstition that have no scientific dimension. This rejection becomes a challenge for the supporters of the theory to explain the rationality of all statements in the text that contain information about the origin of language. In Islamic teaching, the Quran contains scientific instruction in explaining the origin of human language. The term scientific indication means that the statement of the Quran contain the principle of non-contradiction. In this case, the verses of the Quran emphasize the relationship between the empirical and the transcendental. This principle is one of the conditions for categorizing all statements or information revealed in the Quran as rational knowledge. In addition, the Quran makes revelation very clear, which consists of verses whose understanding is integrated with the process of thinking, contemplating, and reasoning. In the view of the Quran, because language is one of the most important things for human, because it's the first thing that Allah taught Adam alayhisalam, the first human being. In philosophy, the term name is sometimes used to describe any word or phrase it can refer to, and sometimes in a more limited sense of a word that uniquely identifies an individual. Briefly, God taught Adam all the names that describe existing concept. Furthermore, learning the name of an object will explain certain concepts that contain knowledge about the unique properties and characteristics contained in all of these concept entities. When humans learn how to use the word horse, they denote all types of horses. It means that they have known all types of horses with their own characteristics. For that, in teaching Adam about the names of all things, God also taught his nature and behavior. The learning process, experienced by Adam as the father of all humans, is also experienced by all humans. Since childhood, humans have identified that some objects have certain characteristics in common and are different from others. Simply but the concept of an object is a mental representation of a particular object. That is, concepts are what the mind can understand about object. Understanding of an object or its conceptualization means having been able to identify the constituent components, which include intrinsic and extrinsic components. After creating a concept that describes a certain object or thing, human needs to come up with a name that describes the concept appropriately. The human ability to learn language plays a role in creating concepts and using them quickly in the process of thinking and learning new information and facts. By using certain concepts in the thought process and using sentences for this concept, humans can learn all objects and things in their minds through the method of symbolism. In relation to language production, there is no doubt that speaking requires a complex activity. This activity requires manipulation of the tongue, lips, vocal cords, lungs, velum, and all parts of the so-called vocal tract. When humans speak, the tongue is in constant motion and its position in relation to other elements of the vocal tract is critical to producing the appropriate sound. In producing speech, the brain organizes the idea of saying something and delivers a series of electrical impulses to all the muscles of the vocal tract. This muscle in turn from complex sound waves, and the result is something that is spoken language. In this regard, the Quran states that Allah taught humans to speak as stated in the following verse. The most merciful has taught this Quran. It is He who created man and taught him speech. Quran Ar-Rahman 55:1 until 4. This verse states that Allah teach humans to be able to communicate through spoken language. That is, God has given human the potential to be able to think and express meaning through sound and written form. Scientifically, the verse indicates that God created human with the biological potential to acquire language. In the view of the Quran, the diversity of human language is one of the signs of Allah's power, as stated in the following verse, and among His signs is the creation of the heavens and the earth and the different language and color of the skin. Verily, in that state there are signs for those who know Al-Quran. Ar-Rum 30:22. This verse shows that the language used by humans in the world is God's creation. Thus, the diversity of language is a characteristic of the earth. The Quranic statement that the first human were taught to speak is very important in this context. God provided man with the mental capacity, with ears ready to receive what he heard, and a mouth and tongue to express his intention. Coincidence cannot explain the perfect and complex creation of our ears, mouths, and tongues. It is reasonable to conclude that God's gift of tongues to man can be received in faith and praise to him. Number 2 is human brain and language. The Quran contains amazing statements in the brain, mostly about the frontal lobe area. The frontal lobe is the part of the brain that controls important cognitive skills in humans, such as emotional expression, problem solving, memory, language, judgment, and sexual behavior. Basically, it is a control panel of human personality and ability to communicate. As the name suggests, the frontal lobe is at the front of the brain. The right hemisphere of the frontal lobe controls the left side of the body and vice versa. The frontal lobe is also the most common site of brain injury. Conclusion remarks: the fact about human language in Quran can be explained scientifically. This fact provides clear evidence that the Quran is not the word of man. Quran is the word of the Almighty God, the creator of human, the originator of everything, and the one who encompasses everything with his knowledge. This fact also strengthens that there is the interconnection between science and religion Islam in studying linguistics, especially about the theory of origin of human language. I think that enough. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.